Good to go. All right, so at the end of last year, I was kind of putting this whole thing together to kind of put what the company I work for does together with NYC Mesh, because as soon as I was introduced to NYC Mesh, I was just like, yes, 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 yes. As far as sovereign connections, the internet, the broadband, just the whole vibe of the organization. It's what I'm all about. And it's actually the company that I work for, I've been working there for about a year, and they're along the same lines of kind of getting off of the need for big providers to be able to deliver software. So essentially what CodeNow is, it's a software delivery platform where developers basically get a developer dashboard. You can push code, and I'll show that to you in a minute. And what it was made for was by a bunch of ex-IBM engineers that were in the finance sector that needed to, spin up experiments and whatnot for, production quality, and regulated EU banks where there's a lot of complexity that goes into the DevOps process, and part of, going off the conversation that we were talking before about, who wants to do this work. This software does all of the DevOps pipelines and stuff like that really nobody wants to do unless that's what you're really into, and that's kind of a rare breed. I guess instead of going through this, I'll go into CodeNow.nyc that I developed, and it's actually running right now on the servers that I have in my kitchen that are connected to the wave that's hanging out of my window. That is the one New Jersey dot. So the New Jersey dot is this guy. And connectivity has been amazing. So. Yes, on my phone, but I don't know if I want to put my phone pictures right up. Let's see, that the sightline and is right there. There it is. Hell yeah. Bada boom. And there's a whole blog article here, CodeNow.nyc, just click blog, and this is 908 right here, that's me. And then, of course, a GIF kind of connecting the whole thing together. And you can tell it's AI generated because the text is nonsense, but I fix it at the end. Ba-boom. So I wrote a lot about NYC Mesh, kind of everything I love about the organization. So dig into that if you want to pat yourselves on the back and just know the impact you have on people that are relatively unfamiliar with your organization. But I definitely, again, get the vibe of the organ, and I love it. And my CEO signed on to say, hey, instead of spending a bunch of money on advertising and whatever else, the main thing with CodeNow is when I first started, I was supposed to be sales, that type of thing, but I'm a terrible salesperson, and there's no two-sentence pitch in elevator pitch to say, like, this is what CodeNow does. Even saying it, I've been working there for a year, I use it every single day, and trying to explain it to everybody, it didn't really come out really smooth. Maybe it's just me, but it's kind of a platform that once you use it, you get it. You get it, how much time it saves, and it's not a piece of software that is black boxed. So everything that you need to develop software on CodeNow, as opposed to if CodeNow were to go away tomorrow to spin it up somewhere else, you have your own repos, you own the code and everything else. It's just YAML files that lets you configure it in order to do the whole software delivery thing to dev, staging, prod, so on and so forth. This website, actually in this blog, is a component of the website application for CodeNow.nyc too. And I'll show you the dashboard, which is the cool part, but this is the I'm sure you recognize some of yourselves in here, of the installation and kind of the blog article that I referenced in the Slack chat. And funny enough, born same year, 2014. And not to belabor this, I know it's getting late, the 12 reasons for the mesh, which was written in 2015 by Brian. We align so much as a company with all 12 of these. I kind of threw a blog article together just saying how we're very much aligned in literally all 12. As far as going to the next part, NYC Mesh.CodeNow, this is the platform itself. These are all the apps I kind of threw up on it. Keough for auth, and this is the website. Let me make this a little bit bigger. This is the website itself, the website, the blog, so on and so forth. I don't know which one I had to recreate, But when you go into it, you do your releases, everything's based off of branches, and we can get into the whole development stuff, ins and outs of it. But the main thing is I got a GovDeals auction for 14 servers. Right now I have four servers, R730 servers sitting in my kitchen that each have 64 threads and 192 gigs of RAM, and that is the four of those together are the hardware for the cluster that's attached to NYC Mesh. And as part of like side projects and other things that just people want to build, these are dedicated to whoever wants to build software in New York City as far as civic tech goes. I've done some volunteering at Beta NYC, and the common theme is that, hey, I have this great idea and I have some developers that can put together the front end database. Okay, fine, but where does it ultimately live? Where is it going to sit? Who's going to take care of all the boring tasks that no one wants to do as far as fixing DevOps pipelines and managing releases and so on and so forth? And that's what CodeNow does. So your runtime configuration, connected services, these hold the passwords and configs for everything. And like I said, there's no black box here. So if CodeNow were to literally go away tomorrow, all that would be different is you still have your code bases and repos, and just the CodeNow.yaml files become useless, and you need to put them wherever you would anyway. With it, you get logging, Grafana. Let me just jump on to, instead of showing you every single one, I'll jump into, oh, sorry. I don't know why it's not showing up anymore. Developer docs. Oh, there's also an MCP server, so you don't have to know how to do CodeNow stuff. It works really, really well. I had a small part in kind of putting it together as I was developing, all the stuff around this tenant. So as far as plugging into your agent when you're doing development work, the MCP server will literally just take care of everything. You say, hey, I want to make a new application with this component. I want a React app with Postgres and RabbitMQ for messaging, and it'll take care of the whole thing for you. Let's see, architecture. This is all built in to CodeNow. You just get out of the box, and it's built around open source tools. So the main thing was, the developers that founded it, 12 years ago, were like, hey, I have all these components, these open source pieces of software that I want to use again and again for this experiment, that experiment, and whatever else. Let me just, get all these components that I've used 100 times and put them in with whatever my experiment is. And all these stuff are just available out of the box. Tekton, SonarQube, it's like the light version. Argo CD, of course, Kubernetes, Istio. External secret is if you need help with that, please let me know. But Grafana is in there as well as far as all the logging and metrics and things like that. And then there's Jaeger for tracing events. And again, all that's built into Service Mesh and is part of the CodeNow platform. So, like I was saying, being a hammer looking for a nail as far as the CRM goes, as you probably also saw. I'm a Cloud Code aficionado over here, and I actually just repaired, let me see, a application that I made more geared towards the business front end for the Beta NYC crowd. Oh my gosh, I broke it again. It works. But it's a platform where I have not Excalidraw, but the other whiteboard, then voting on positions for the software going forward, the mission of it, and so on and so forth, kind of project management. Sort of steps up until you actually go to develop the software, and then you develop the software on the NYC Mesh tenant of CodeNow. And it's enterprise software. It's, for a cluster, it's not something anybody personally would get, but EU banks run on it. They have DHL, and I'm the North American employee that, the CEO is kind of like, hey, go drive some business in America. So again, the main thing with CodeNow is it's so difficult for me or really anyone to explain in an elevator pitch what it is until you use it. So they said, hey, you can dedicate half of your time to just being the admin for it. Bring on whoever you want. Let as many people use it as they want. It's 100% free. The hardware is there, and it's just waiting for development. So I guess I'll take questions, comments, concerns.
Where's the microphone?
I cry for your electricity bill with your 4 R730s and your...
It's only $100. I have them on indents. So
Okay.
once we start ramping up, I'll ask my CEO for maybe a few extra funds.
So we obviously, Mesh has both rack space as well as just hosted space. I mean, if it's something that you want to sort of pilot with the Mesh or get other people to use it, my suggestion would be to leverage some of that, right? Maybe not an entire, for you rack space, because we do have to pay for that, but even just like smaller sets of VMs or whatever in our Proxmox instances, because it would probably be more reliable than your link across the river. This is interesting. It really is. I'm not a coder, so a lot of this.
Well, but like I said, I have half time to help whoever wants help with it, and I work 100 hours a week as it is, so you can call that 50 hours, basically full time.
Sorry about you.
So yeah, that's what I got. Anybody else? Any developers here?
Okay, so I have a question. So regarding this, I do have a question about like CodeNow, like what is the business model? Like why would they do this? Like, because I think that's important for us to know in terms of partnerships. And also the second question, right now there is a lot of attention in the past year. I'm going to say maybe, God, I'm getting old. Let's say a year and a half of folks wanting to build up our own internal CI/CD with the Mesh through GitHub, through an to basically make it easier for Mesh folks to build software where same rationale. They don't have to deal with all of the back-end administration, fighting with Proxmox, fighting with LXCs and Docker containers that don't want to behave. So like, what would you say that migration path is if like more Mesh people use that, and what does that look like? Because there's a big push to have more Mesh facing infrastructure run on premises, so I'm curious what that looks like. So those two questions.
Well, the servers now are connected obviously via the Mesh, so it can sit on the Mesh however the Mesh decides. So pretty much you can say that the 4 servers are dedicated to NYC Mesh, and we can set them up however we'd like. But as far as getting onboarded and firing up an app and whatever else, if you have an idea that you want to make an app, or even just ask me to, hey, build a scaffold for this app, I can do it for you, and then just toss you the keys to the repos and say, take it from there. Help set up the pipelines themselves, again, are just in config files, so it's not any super complicated thing, and I know how to do it. So it's really just self-service. That's what CodeNow does, is it's developer self-service and empowerment to say you don't have to know all the intricate details of how the software is being delivered. Just push the code of the component. The component is set up to work, alongside any other components. CodeNow will take care of the rest of it. As far as the reason that CodeNow is doing this, it's to put it into people's hands. Obviously, they're a company that wants to make money, of course, and I have a strong enough feeling, and the CEO has a strong enough feeling, that if people use it and they compare this experience to whatever they're doing at work, they're going to say, oh my gosh, we need this at work because it takes care of developer speed and so on and so forth. So Yeah, I would love to use this for work, obviously, because I use this in my volunteering, and it's a way better system than I use at work. So that is the, at the end of the day, putting it in people's hands is what's going to, sell CodeNow. And as far as, lead management and bringing people in, whatever else, like I said, I turned out to be a terrible salesperson as far as making cold calls and stuff like that. It was kind of a disaster. And the conversation over and over again was if people would just use it, they would know what the value of CodeNow is. So instead of spending money on ads and this lead generation tool or this new company that calls you up and says, hey, I can get you warm leads and blah blah blah, instead of spending money on that, they're going to spend money on half my salary to say just bring on as many people as want to use it. And again, the hardware is donated wherever the if the mesh is like you could pull the hardware tomorrow or whatever else, you could take the hardware yourselves and host it. I'll extend the cluster over to existing hardware. I know there's a bunch of hardware that the mesh has. It's really just connecting the Kubernetes cluster to CodeNow, and then CodeNow manages the cluster itself. And there's no like collection of data or aggregation of data or selling of data or anything like that whatsoever. And if people would feel more comfortable with like legal documents or a note from my CEO or whatever else to say, hey, are you going to be spying on me or something like that, then I'll certainly get it. But it's like I said, the CodeNow organization, the reason I work for them, the reason I love them as a company is right along the same lines of the 12 points of NYC Mesh, and that kind of the ideology is the same. Build, have fun doing it, and more and more.
You mentioned something a little. Sorry. You mentioned something a little bit earlier. I was just wondering, like, where do the repositories live?
It can be your own GitHub. If you want, you can connect your GitHub to it. We connect it to Bitbucket. Really, it can be wherever you want. By default, we have GitLab that if you just sign up and just start using it and don't connect your GitHub or anything like that, you'll have GitLab to put your repos in.
Does it have to be public?
No. So as far as the management of it, CodeNow operates for EU banks. So as far as RBAC permissions and stuff like that, it is the most controlled environment that you can imagine. Raiffeisen Bank is probably the big bank. They're in I think 17 EU countries, and then DHL uses us as well. So as far as security goes and regulations, and again, all the founders and co-founders are from IBM Finance. So any level of security that we could possibly need or require can be put into CodeNow.
Gotcha.
Thank you. All right, this is amazing. This sounds really cool. So I understand that CodeNow can be used to create apps to help with our software. Can you give me a really simple and concrete one way that we would use CodeNow for NYC Mesh?
Let's say for project management and information capture, like I was talking before, as far as let's say we want to document everything that's happened in a Slack channel and pull into an AI agent and hey, give me pieces of information about it, and then make a knowledge base that is workable for each project, where you click in and get information about a building, an installation, or whatever else. Or it's like, hey, I know Matt doesn't like the word task as far as CRM goes, but hey, we would love if someone would volunteer to do this, and it's going to sit out here until someone decides to grab it, and that's what they want to do. We can put the work that kind of needs to be done and the annoying stuff to where that volunteer comes along and is like, hey, I love doing annoying stuff, so let me go grab those things and complete them and talk about what I did and save them into something other than a Kanban board, because I know Matt's going to slap me soon.
Gotcha.
Okay.
You got something?
No, just flying a fly.
All right. And as far as if you want to get into it, just say I would like to get developer access, and you can schedule a meeting with me, go on my Calendly, or just send me an email, and I'll put you on. Anyone from NYC Mesh, I'll put on as owner to have the same access that I do into the tenant that we have right now with CodeNow. And then we'll go from there. And then other volunteer orgs, we can give them our own environments inside it. A little louder.